Hey, good evening, Scape Village Stories. Goeienaand julle. Hoop dit gaan goed saam met julle. I know you guys want to talk about electricity. It is so expensive and it's going so quick. So I managed to get on the last minute a few experts and a few people to join us tonight and talk about this. For wie blame us, for wie gee se pak klappe agter die so that is why we have this conversation tonight. But just before I go over to our guests tonight, I just want to let you guys know it's a bit there was a protest in Parkwood earlier on. Just be very careful. That side people are protesting, standing up against the gangsters in the area. And so I got the word from the people from the community. I also want the priest and the imams to also intervene, the pastors, just to make sure everything goes well, that we don't destroy or loot anything while we're standing up. So yeah, so tonight we're going to talk about the electricity that is so expensive and that's going so quick. With me in the studio, I have Zami and Donovan Nelson. They're going to chat with us. So yeah, let's start with Zami. Zami can introduce herself to us, and then we can maybe just ask her questions. But you guys are welcome to be part of this conversation.
Thank you very much, Stanley. My name is Zimkita Sulelo. I am a peer councillor in Langa, but I am here as just a resident to talk about the prices of the electricity and what has been happening online, and not as a representative of any party or the city of Cape Town, just to make sure that everybody is clear on that. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have Mr. Nelson with us as well, good friend of
Alright,
mine.
man. Listen, Stan, I'm just a young man in Cape Town trying to do good for the community. I'm kind of trying to make sure that I live my life as best as I can, trying to make sure that it was looks like yours, because if I can do a fraction of what you do for the people, then I think I've achieved a lot.
I think Donny, it is just doing our part. We do what we can. If we change one person's life, then we change one person's life. It's somebody that will live better, and we need to stand up for our people. Like I always tell you, we are from different organizations, but we have the same purpose, and that mustn't be cluttered. What organization you belong to? We have the same vision, the same mission, and that is to serve our people, irrespective of the organizations we belong to. But I want to come to the question: who increased the tariffs? Who was responsible for that? Because our people are now actually querying. Is it the DA? Is it the ANC? And that is just how social media goes. Who is responsible for the increase in electricity?
I actually like the question that you're asking, because it's not really the DA or the ANC or any other political party. In South Africa, we have a national regulator, that's NESA. So whenever ESCOM, because ESCOM is the only service provider we don't have any other person or any other company that's supplying electricity to all the municipalities. So whenever ESCOM feels the need to increase their prices, they go to NESA and they ask NESA to be able to increase their prices. And then it is NESA who says, no, you go ahead, recover your money from the people that you are selling electricity to. So there's no political parties involved. But because municipalities buy directly from ESCOM and only from ESCOM, then I guess you can say that ESCOM and NESA increase the price of electricity in South Africa, because they decide on how much they're going to be selling the electricity back to the municipality, and then the municipality sells the electricity back to its clients.
So it's practically NESA and ESCOM that we have to that might the rules that electricity will be a bit more. But this is the other thing that people are also querying. Electricity is going much more quicker. Like we would buy 150 rands units and we will get 64. Now we get 55. That 64 units used to last us up to six days. That unit is now 55. It only lasts for 3 days. So the unit is going much more quicker. That's the other thing. I think that's the other part of the puzzle. Why is the electricity going so quick? I mean, if you take it like this, 150, you got 64 units. You only get 55. So it's about say 9 units less. So that's not a lot less, but it's going too quick. So you like you are still using the same consumption. Like remember, we went up in July, so only in
Yeah, 1st of July.
June month. So we can still compare. Last month it was still we can still buy for 600 rand. All of a sudden we have to buy for 1,200, 1,100 rand. So it has really increased a lot. In the sense of the electricity goes very quick. So I don't know if the units are if there's something wrong with the units, but maybe you can give me some more idea on, or maybe say more some idea on that.
I think that is very complicated, but I'm going to try my best to break down how much you are buying the electricity for and the units that you get back. Eskom increased their prices. I think it was 3 months ago. I think it was the 1st of March that they actually increased their prices, and the city of Cape Town just increased their prices starting on the 1st of July. But what has happened with us, before we increased the prices, we actually looked at our structure, because we don't just increase for everyone at the same rate. So if you've been using electricity for like anything under 350 kilowatts per month, then you only got an increase of 17 cents. And anything between 350 to 600 kilowatts, then you got an increase of 28 cents. And the people who are using more electricity, the people who actually should be feeling the pinch a little bit more than everyone else, is people who are using between 600 kilowatts to even like a lot more, because they got an increase of 34 cents per unit. So yes, it might feel like the electricity that you got around June for 100 rands, and you got about 60 units, and now you're getting 50 or less. Yes, you will definitely feel the pinch. But if you are using less electricity, you got 17 cents more added to your bill. So it depends on how much electricity you've been using in your household. And yes, 17 cents is a lot of money if you only have managed to get away with a bill of about 300 rands or 600 rands a month on your electricity. So yes, this is what has happened starting on the 1st of July. But as you have indicated earlier on, it is important to realize that this is not something that is happening only in Cape Town. If you go to Twitter or your Facebook, you will realize that people in Soweto are also complaining. But then it goes back to those people who are not paying for electricity, and Eskom is the sole provider, not having any provisions to make sure that the people are actually not buying electricity and just stealing electricity like forever, are not held accountable. Therefore, they have to recover money. And the only way that Eskom or any municipality is going to be able to recover money, unfortunately, it will be for those law-abiding citizens who are actually buying electricity. And that's very difficult to accept, but that's how municipalities and Eskom is going to be able to keep providing the service, over penalizing the people who are actually buying electricity. It's not fair, but that's just the way it is right now.
Yes, that is unfortunately the real reality. The people living and using electricity for free, and I mean, it's unfair towards the other people, towards us that are paying, is buying electricity. But that brings me to the following question also, that some people mentioned to me earlier on. They feel that some areas pay less for units still, and others still pay more. And they also feel that is also very unfair towards those people, because I mean, if I buy electricity for 1,000 rand and I get a certain amount, but the people that also buy 1,000 rand in a different area, they get more than what I'm currently paying for. I do understand that that we have to carry each other in this country, unfortunately, but I think it puts a lot of strain on the law-abiding citizen and those people that are trying to uplift and keep the economy. So, just to come back, is it true that people in certain areas do get more units than others?
That is 100% accurate. Like I said to you earlier on, we actually look at how much electricity you are using as a household. So if you're losing anything less than 350 kilowatt, then you part of the indigent. And then we have to only increase your price in electricity per unit by only 17 cents. But if you're using more electricity than, let's say, area north, obviously area south has to has to get the increase of up to 34 cents per unit on their electricity bill. That's just how municipalities structure their prices. But if I want to try and get you to understand why that is the case, the fact of the matter is, if you are in a household that is less, or that is 400,000 rands or less, then the municipality looks at that household as a household that needs a little bit of help. Those are the people, those are your pensioners, those are people who've been working very hard as nurses or as whatever it is, like that, but now they're at an age where they cannot actually go in and work. So they depend on their pension. So those people are kind of, it's the safety blanket for those people so that they can still manage to have a decent living. So they will be charged less. But then if you happen to be in a household that is worth R1 million, for example, even though you are paying rates, but then the fact that you can buy electricity for R1,000, then you will be paying not the 17 cents increase that other people are enjoying, but you'll be paying at least 28 cents more than the people who are considered indigent. That's just how it is structured. It's like your income tax. At a certain income bracket, you pay more than other people. That's exactly how municipalities as well look at its clients. Is it fair? That's a debate. But then again, you must also realize that if we were to get to a point as municipalities where we say that everybody must just get an increase of 38 cents, the gogo that usually buys electricity for 200 rands a month, then they'll only get way less than the person who's used to buying electricity for 2,000 rands. So it's a balancing act. Is it fair? No. Do we need everyone to start contributing and making sure that they actually pay for the services that they are getting? That's a debate that as South Africans we need to have. But to say right now that everybody must just get to the same increase because we're using the same electricity, it's a little bit unfair because a lot of the money that you are paying back to the municipalities goes back to servicing the areas and maintaining the networks that we have. Obviously, it's not going to be exactly the same for everyone. Those who use more electricity have to pay more.
And I think that is what people finds very difficult to accept, is that they have to carry the other people. And unfortunately, there's a lot of things we need to look at. There's things we need to look at: unemployment. We need to look at things like, Gogo only getting 1.7 a month for pension. So there's a lot of things to look at. But the problem remains there now. We need to move away from the system. So this brings me to the following question: solar power, is that the way to go now? Because it's no use we're going to talk about how much electricity we pay and what we can't afford. I think it's maybe time for us as citizens to get off the grid and save money, because we are gonna, at the end of the day, we're gonna kill ourselves, because financially we're gonna be drained, especially now during this time, during COVID, during the pandemic. If we can be in this situation for the next 2 3 years, I don't see it's gonna be easy, but we need to find possible solutions, and the possible solution might be that we might have to go make use of solar power. What do you guys think about that, Donnie or Zami?
I would like to go in first and then maybe Donovan can come in. Solar is it's something that everyone that can afford it should be able to explore. But then again, you have to go back to who is able to afford to install solar in their households. So you will still be like leaving a lot of people behind who are not able to pay for the solar, and then it will come back to the municipalities thinking of creative ways of how they can also roll out that services to people who cannot really afford it. So somebody still needs to pay for it somewhere. But what is interesting for us as the city of Cape Town is that we really want to be able to buy electricity from other independent power producers and not just rely on Eskom. Because if we rely on Eskom, that means we will always pay whatever Eskom asks us to pay. You can't negotiate that because they know that they are the only service provider in South Africa right now. So I don't know if you know, but we have been to court asking for clarity on how is it that municipalities are unable still to just go directly to the independent power producers to be able to secure enough energy to be able to sell it back to its clients at a price that they think is fair, not at a price that is predetermined by Eskom. Unfortunately, we lost the case. It's still a matter of no, even if you are an independent power producer, you should be able to sell the electricity back to Eskom, and then Eskom should be able to sell it back to municipalities. But that defeats the whole purpose. The whole idea is for municipalities to be able to shop around and see who is the cheapest service provider and then be able to give its clients a better price. But if it's still going to be a matter of private power producers selling back to Eskom and then Eskom deciding how much they're going to sell to municipalities, then what is the point? So it goes back to the idea of why is it so difficult for Eskom to understand that competition is what South Africa needs, because we have load shedding right now because we all depend on Eskom. So what if there was other power producers who are actually offering municipalities an opportunity to buy at a lesser price? Then the people are complaining right now that their units are expensive. Then municipalities will be able to say, actually, we're going to charge you 10 cents less for our units because we're paying them at a competitive rate. But that's the debate that a lot of South Africans are missing, because they go back to the municipalities and say municipalities are expensive, but who are they buying from? Is it fair that we only have Eskom? So that's something that we should be discussing and talking about now, because if we get IPPs in, everybody is going to benefit, because municipalities are going to be in a position to actually have better services and also have power over how much they can actually charge their customers. As resellers right now, municipalities are unable to charge much less than what Eskom demands from them.
Thank you. Tony?
Yeah, Stan. I mean, I echo. I mean, some of what Zim is saying. I think so. If you want to go solar, and you can afford it, I think there must be a tax rebate on that. I think if you pay 70, let's say you pay 75,000 rand for your whole solar system, I think government should be able to actually give you that. SARS must be able to give you that back when you claim tax in the following year, because it's a way for you to also free yourself from the grid. You know, you're not because you're actually helping Eskom, you know, by not having that heavy load or another household on their grid, because it makes it much difficult for them. And then so I think that's definitely I think a way for us to go. It's a bit more greener, and I think some people can afford it over time, and so you should be able to invest in the solar system to take some of the leverage away from that. But I think the other part is, you know, if so I just have a regular, you know, place that I stay at, and the way I look at it is very simple, because I'm like a normal Cape Townian right now, and I'm thinking Eskom is the only power producer in South Africa, right? The enigste power producer in South Africa, but
Yeah, yeah.
they cannot with all the money that they're receiving, they can't support the grid. They can't ensure no blackouts or power failures, and yet they are a troubling company where their CEO, I mean, their last CEO, it's now the Rater, but the one before the Rater earned
Mhm,
8.3 million rand a year. That's almost
mhm.
3 times the salary of the president.
Yeah,
Yet
yeah.
it's a failing company. I mean,
Yes.
you work for a corporate company. If you were the CEO of that company and you did not perform well, let's say you like tell me, bro.
That,
So I just don't understand how we have one power producer in South Africa and they can't make sure that we have, you know, electricity right throughout the year. And then I think the other blame goes to NERSA. You know, you have to ask yourself, why did NERSA approve this increase? if the whole point of NERSA is to say, listen, let us find out if South Africans can pay this increase. And surely they can't. This is why we're having
Mhm.
this discussion. So I do think on the one hand we must go solar because it will help, but then I think you must be able to claim back every single cent you are paying, and maybe there must be a threshold, but you must be able to claim back that amount of
Yeah.
money from SARS in the following year because you are actually helping ESCOM make their burden a bit lighter. And then secondly, I think we must have IPPs. There must be
Mhm.
someone in Power Good that is willing to set up an IPP and willing to produce electricity or generate electricity for the Power Good community so that people can either
Mhm.
buy from him, if that's the case,
Mhm.
or what government wants to do. Government wants us to buy from ESCOM, so then it's cheaper. Uh, um, it's cheaper because there's an IPP, but then people of Power Grid don't have this heavy cost on them that they are paying because ESCOM is constantly increasing the price. There must be competition. If I don't like my T-shirt at Mr. Price, I'm gonna go to Pep because it's cheaper and it's more comfortable, and that is
Mhm.
what we need in electricity right now. We need a competition. ESCOM is just not giving it, and again, it's this way of this government to say, I'm going to choke you guys for as much as I can. You're not paying tax. I'm going to increase the petrol.
Yeah.
And they're basically blaming and punishing us for the mistakes that they have made with one power producer. They have the monopoly stand. They
Yeah. Yeah.
that is here on a company but
No.
competing,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know.
Yes. And that is the biggest problem. There's no competition. Once there's competition, like we first in this country, I think the first phone mobile phone company we had was MTN, and then Vodacom came, and then Cell C came, and there was competition, and things started becoming cheaper. And I think the same has to happen with ESCOM as well. ESCOM needs a competitor, but however, we need to also look at who's all benefiting from ESCOM, who's all benefiting from SAA. It's government that is benefiting from this. But I don't want to make it a political thing. We need to find solutions. Solutions is what we need here. And I think 27 years later, and we still have only one power provider. That is a bit shocking. I mean, we have many youngsters studying to become engineers, electric engineers, whatever. Why didn't we in 27 years build another, or gave a private company the opportunity to start another power company? I think it's solely because of ESCOM should be the main competition, but that needs to sort of change. I mean, one of the things that bothers people, you are paying so a lot of units, paying such a lot of money for units, but you're still having load shedding. You still there's evenings where you're sitting for 3 or 4 hours without electricity, and it's winter month, and then you still need to pay this. I think this is a big concern for many people. I just wanna. There's a question that I just maybe want one of you guys to answer, and Craig just posted it now. He said he feels that it's only in Cape Town. Yeah, let me just play it for you guys. Does everyone across SA pay the same for electricity? Because it seems like it's only Cape Town. Ian's complaining, so yes, it's ESCOM, but I believe it's at the Cape Town that they're picking us up. I think we just covered that now. We have established it's all over South Africa that people are paying a lot of money for electricity. And we'll just read some of the other comments. People are very upset. You can actually read from here some of these 100 rand for 30 units. So I want to ask this question: what is the process? What process do we follow? Who do we as citizens talk to get a process in action so that we can have at least hope of another? We don't want to wait another 27 years and we still have ESCOM. How do we start the process? What do we do from here onwards to get another power provider, service provider in South Africa?
That's a very, very interesting question that I think every South African should be asking themselves right now, because blaming municipalities is actually not going to achieve anything. As long as they're buying from ESCOM and they just resellers, there is absolutely nothing they can do. Because if municipalities keep their prices low for electricity sales, they're going to have to get their money elsewhere. So maybe your water bill is going to be more, or maybe you're not going to get the same kind of service that you expect from your municipality because the money will have to be shifted to cover electricity prices. So coming back to your question, actually interesting things have happened in the past couple of weeks. The president finally came and said that yes, it's time we take IPP seriously. So now it looks like municipalities are going to be able to buy electricity directly from IPPs. But what is always difficult what is always a challenge for municipalities is that the government comes in with a cap that if you're an IPP, you can only produce this much electricity and nothing more. And that's going to be very difficult for an investor to come in and invest 100 million rands, understanding that they will not be able to produce as much electricity as they want. Because I don't understand why you would, knowing as the government that the South Africa is actually facing load shedding for the next 3 years, it was actually predicted by an economist. So why wouldn't you just want to invite the industry to come in and sort out load shedding? Why do you have to put a cap on how much electricity they can provide? That's because you want to give an edge to Eskom, and that's not really independent anymore if you still want Eskom to have an edge over industry, a privately run company. So now the Ramaphosa actually announced that the cap that they have decided to increase to 100 megawatts. So a power station could be able to produce that much electricity, which is a little bit more understandable and a little bit more palatable to the private industry. So we are really, as the city of Cape Town, because I work for the city, as the city of Cape Town, we're excited about that. And we are really trying to see who is ready to provide us with electricity and understanding that there is a cap on how much electricity they can actually produce and sell to municipalities. And as soon as that is clear, because there's still questions, because it's very nice for the president to come out and say, oh, well, now you can buy electricity directly from IPPs and everybody celebrates. But when you actually read the fine print, it actually has a lot of things that make it difficult for a private investor to come in and just do it. So we are really studying the documents that as soon as that is gazetted as well, and we understand exactly what we are dealing with, then we'll be able to say, okay, this is feasible. Then we can buy from IPPs and this is how much we can actually get, and then we can plan accordingly. Then that would mean that we can buy less from Eskom and buy electricity at a cheaper rate privately, and then we'll be able to control the prices with only 50% of the citizens, though, because you must remember that the city only provides for 50% and the other 50% is supplied by Eskom, and they don't even have a choice in that. So that's something. But as an ordinary, that's from the city of Cape Town side. But as an ordinary citizen, I think it will be very, very important that everyone, as soon as the president's office is clear or releases the document that is going to be detailing how IPPs are going to be operating, study the document and then ask the relevant questions as well to the minister's office. Actually, Guatemaltashe is the one that people need to be asking here, because as the minister, the only reason municipalities right now are unable to go directly to IPPs and procure energy is because minister has to sign off on the tenders to be going out as well. In the license, you need a license to be able to be a power station. So the minister has to sign off on those documents and say, here's your license. So if the minister is not willing to give licenses out to private industry, then nobody's going to be investing. So if anyone needs to be put under pressure here, it is the National Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources, because he has been very slow on making sure that the industry is open for anyone to come in and bid and make sure that they can have their power stations up and running before we are in total darkness in the next 2 or 3 years.
So, and then I just want to also add the other thing, like we've mentioned earlier on, the people stealing electricity. So that is a big crime, because at the moment it is taking from from us, the paying citizen. It's costing more. What are we doing about that? Because After listening to you guys and seeing what is happening, we are paying a lot of money. I feel those people shouldn't get electricity for free. Um, and people might hate me for this, but we need to set boundaries because there's people that are struggling. There's commenting here that are saying, but this is what we're getting. I mean, if we can sort of regulate that people don't get electricity, it will put less strain maybe on our system. Is there anything in place from the city side? I know in Soweto, what has happened is people's electricity were a couple of years back, it was disconnected, but they actually connected it again later on. So is there anything from our side, because I feel that people shouldn't get electricity for free if they're not paying. It's unfair towards those people that are paying, those people that have to get up to go work. And some, it might seem that I am a bit harsh, but I think we need to also look at that. Is there any such things that is in place?
What is interesting about the question that you're asking is that other municipalities are already exploring what is called load reduction, which means that if they know that a certain area doesn't pay for electricity or there's a lot of illegal connections in that area, then the municipality would go in and just switch off that area for a couple of hours during the busiest hours so that they can actually feel the pinch. Because if you're illegally connected and then you are connecting from somebody who has an electric box, so it doesn't matter if you are illegally connected. As long as that box has power, then you will be able to steal electricity from that box. So the way municipalities, not the city of Cape Town currently though, the way they've tried to manage that situation is to just cut off supply totally
Yeah.
in that area. But the city of Cape Town has not explored that. What we usually do is if we get a call from a resident saying that they suspect that there is illegal connections in a certain area, we go in there. Obviously, we need law enforcement because people can be very aggressive to the officials, even though they are the ones who call in and say, I think there's a problem in this area. So we go in and disconnect, but that is a useless exercise because as soon as the electricity van is off that area, they call the person who's illegally connecting them and they're up and running in a matter of minutes. So it's going to take something like load reduction and just completely disconnect the area for some time without having to go in and do certain areas. But that's not something that the city of Cape Town has been able to implement or
Mhm.
at least exploring at this stage. Because even that comes with its own problems. Because if you switch off an area and then everybody will be totoing in that area, because there is somebody in that area who's buying electricity, who is going to be saying, why am I disconnected? Why am I suffering because other people are
Yes.
connecting illegally? I have no
Mhm.
control over who's stealing electricity because I have my own box and I'm only responsible for my own box. So at the end of the day, you're not going to be making any friends going in and cutting off supply.
Yeah. I think also the other thing is this. I mean, people are people, and some people is going to look at the legal way. We have people that's going to use, they're going to have a box, but what's going to happen? They are going to get the uncle down the road to come and disconnect the box somehow. That is the other thing that I foresee here. Because remember, we need to be honest. People can't really afford electricity. So what are we going to do? My children needs to. I mean, back in the day when I grew up, there was people that had candles and they would use candles to study. I mean, we're living in a much more modern day now. There is light, but we can't use it. We get load shedding, and we are sort of overcharged. So we're gonna have a problem where people are gonna turn to the illegal side of things, and it has already happened. My
Yeah.
question is, how will city manage that? Because that is something that I can also expect to do. Because people are gonna say no, but if they do it in Siqualo, we can do it in Mitchell's Plain as well. So that is going to be the psychological side of things. I just want to read something here. Where do you live according to Zim? Everyone pays the same standing. Where do you live? Okay, I don't understand that question.
A good
But
question.
I don't know, where do you live according to Zim? Okay, no man. Okay, yeah, he's Zim. But here, here's one thing that Ansaf wrote, and I think it maybe can't be right. My aunt gets 5 units for 50 rand. I don't think that is right. That is too little. I don't think you're gonna get maybe once. I think also what people need to understand. If I think there's an option if you're in arrears, they're gonna deduct as well. So maybe that can maybe be the problem. The other question I just want to ask you: do people still get? I know some people used to get on the first of every month. They used to get free units. Do that still apply?
Definitely, that is not something that the city of Cape Town is going to let go at like anytime soon, because the price of electricity is actually expensive, and you cannot get anyone in one room to say that no, electricity is affordable. So even from the official side, from the city side, there's a general understanding that the price of electricity is quite high and unaffordable. Therefore, this is why the city puts a provision for people who are in households that are worth less than 400,000 rands or less, so that they can still continue to get free units and also get free water. Anything over 400,000, then things get a little bit interesting, and then you have to pay 17 cents, or we have to pay 28 cents more, or 34 cents more, depending on how much electricity you use and which area you stay in. But then you did ask something interesting about what is the city doing to make sure that we deal with illegal connections. The city of Cape Town is still connecting people for free if you are prepared to get a prepaid meter box installed in your household for free. Then even if you still have a lot of debt, what you have to do is to just take your ID and go to your nearest municipal office and say, listen, I know that I have not been paying as much as I was supposed to be paying, but now I am prepared to get a prepaid meter box installed, and I am committing to be a little bit responsible going forward. The city of Cape Town then looks at that person's application, and you get a free box, and your debt is written off. And this is not something that is going to last forever. But what we find is that people are a little bit behind to a point where they are actually blacklisted or cut off by the city of Cape Town. They do not want the option of getting a prepaid meter box because they want to still be able to pay this month and not pay the next month, or pay a little bit less than they're supposed to pay. So they think that not by not having an electric box, you actually get to be more in control of your finances and how much you are spending, which is actually the opposite. Because if you have a prepaid box, you understand that if you are going to be spending 500 rands a month, when you get to 10 units, then you're going to start thinking, maybe I shouldn't leave the stove on and just go watch TV. Maybe I should switch off the appliances that I'm not using. So you'll be a little bit more aware of how much electricity you are using if you have a prepaid meter box. So waiting for a bill to come from the city of Cape Town is not helping anyone. So we try and meet the residents halfway by offering them a prepaid meter box, but you'll be surprised people are just resisting that.
There we go. I do agree with you there. Donovan, I just want to come back to you. You mentioned something very interesting about the waste management, electricity. Just tell us more about that. That sounds very interesting. I think people are very frustrated and people want answers. And there is maybe ideas that we can put in their minds that they can think about, and also talk to the necessary people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't speak for any government. To be honest, it's just something that I read about. Someone shared it with me along the lines, and it's basically looking at how they can turn, and perhaps Zimi can also add value to this. How they can possibly turn the ethylene plant into sort of like a solid waste to energy plant, and there's some research. I actually checked out some videos not too long ago. I think it's in Netherlands or Germany, somewhere in Europe,
Mhm.
where they are using solid waste. So the waste that they are picking up with the waste collection in the week, and they're using that to generate electricity. But obviously, these things are very expensive, and they are, they only fit in economies, or not in just in economies, but in municipalities where there are a substantial amount of middle class paying rates and taxes, which we can achieve. You when you get more people jobs, they can pay taxes, and that's how you can achieve and get to those proposals. But that is certainly one way that we can actually go a bit more greener and look on the brighter side of things. Because if we I mean, we currently generating much of our electricity with coal at the moment, and we know that it is not it's not even close to healthy anymore to put people into coal mines and to mine coal, and so we need to look at ways that are a bit more sustainable, but also it's forward thinking. So it's challenging the status quo. It's asking ourselves, what can we do with with what we have? And we know that Cape Town's solid waste land fills are filling up. The dumping sites are filling up at the moment like nobody's business. I mean, we work in Parkwood. If we drive through Parkwood, how many illegal dumping sites are there? And
Yeah.
yes, one part of it's the illegal activity, but the other part is also that people are just, they are throwing so much away, which in any case is a business opportunity for someone wanting to recycle plastic, glass, and paper. But we'll park that conversation for another day. So all of that waste that we are now collecting on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that can be used to actually generate electricity. And I think that, Athlone, at the moment, that was sort of a conversation that was happening. How can they make that plant into a more feasible plant? But and again, it's expensive, Stan, and I don't know if the city has the money. I mean, this year the city wrote off 5 billion rand worth of debt for people that's in arrears, for pensioners, people that cannot pay for, or hasn't paid for the past 3 years. They use 5 billion rand of that budget to literally cover debt of other people. And I think that's brilliant, man. Like, you actually don't get that in some of the other municipalities. In the Eastern Cape, there's no indigent grant. A pensioner can't go and ask the municipality to subsidize water and rent for her, or for him. And so I think it's brilliant that we have a municipality that's really caring, that really, like Zami saying, that even the officials are aware that the electricity is just expensive. And I don't think it's time to play politics, and I don't think it's time to do any PR stunt. We are all humans. We are all suffering in this time and difficult time, and we need answers. And I think one of the things, and maybe Zim can speak forward, because I don't speak on for any government, but I think that's one of the ideas that's been going around. How can we use Athlone, and that plant to actually generate electricity in the future, but using waste, the solid waste that we have, because all of the sites are filling up, I believe.
I I do agree with you. I actually spoke to family members of mine that was in arrears with their bills, and they couldn't afford it. There is unfortunately in many areas on the Cape Flats, pensioners, people can't afford to pay water, and they've mentioned to me, the city was good. They actually wrote off a lot of the money, or most of the money. So I have to comment on it. I know I always say the city doesn't really work for us. But when they do, we need to give recognition. And I've seen my family members are happy because there's no more that cloud is not on them anymore that they have to pay this. So yes, that has been happening.
And Stan,
But
Stan, sorry,
mm,
let me say also, because I think
mm,
this is what we need to understand,
mm,
is that, if you can't pay your water or your electricity, sorry, your water or your rates, take a day out and go stand
mm,
in a line by one of the city offices, and go and tell them your situation.
mm,
I think everyone is aware of how difficult it is right now, and especially the city of Cape Town, because I think there is a caring government. There's people that run the departments that really know the plight and the reality on the ground. So go to the municipality, or go to the council office and say, listen, I can't pay. Can I make an arrangement? I have heard of situations where the city has taken as low as 20 rand, as little as 20 rand, on payments that's like 5,000 over arrears, or 6,000 and over years.
mm,
But go and speak to them. If you stay away, you make it much more difficult, because they're looking for you and they can't find you, and they're messaging you, they're sending you invoices every month, but you're not paying your rates or your water, and eventually they have to cut it off after 8-9 months, and then you're upset, you want to throw you want to throw a blow a gasket or whatever. But go and speak to them, go and tell them, listen, there's no one working at home, or this is the situation. Take your supporting documents and go and tell the municipality what your situation is, so that they can find ways to help you, because that is how it works. If I can't pay my loan on my car or whatever the case may be, I'm going to have to go to the bank and say, listen, I know I said I'm going to pay so much a month, but can I pay so much because I can handle? And they will make sure that I either I rather continue paying the loan or the debt, because it benefits them, than to actually lose me as a client. And that's how it works in any case. Go to the city and say, listen, my husband or my wife lost their job. Can I pay 50 rand a month instead of 200 rand, whatever? And I'm sure, I
Yeah.
am 100% sure, because I've heard the story, that they will accept that as well.
Okay. And yeah, we need to talk about that. But I just want to come back to the electricity thing. You are right. In anything, we need to make arrangements. In anything, and also, what our people are very much afraid of, and especially in my community, we don't talk about it. We are so shy that everybody's gonna know what's going on in our house. But at the end of the day, if you want to keep the lights on, if you want to keep the water on, we need to speak to the authorities. But it brings me back to the following. Is there still people that don't have electricity boxes in their homes, because that is the old system, like the power, like the boxes that we have, where you can actually buy and punch it in? Is there still those people that just pay a monthly bill that comes to them, and how is that working?
Unfortunately, there's still a lot of people who are supplied by the city of Cape Town that get a bill each month, especially in those gated communities, because then people just preferred to wait for a bill from the city of Cape Town and then pay what's on the bill, or pay a little bit less than you are supposed to pay. And I think what's attractive about getting a bill from the city of Cape Town is the fact that you can have at least 3 months of non-payment and nothing would happen to you, because the city of Cape Town only starts chasing people around after about 3 or 4 months of non-payment. So it's the opposite if you have a prepaid meter box, because if you don't have 50 rands to buy electricity, then there's absolutely nothing that you can do. You need to go out and find 50 rands and pay and buy electricity. But because we realize that it's not, because remember that at the end of the day, the city of Cape Town wants to be able to recover the money that it has spent to buy the electricity in bulk and then resell to its clients. So if people are just using the electricity but not paying for it, it means that the city itself has less money to be able to buy for the next month or the next year. So we do want to recover all the money that we have spent on electricity. So this is why we actually have a campaign. Even when Patricia de Lille was the mayor of Cape Town, I remember I used to go knocking on doors and saying, please get a box, a prepaid meter box, because you'll be helping the city of Cape Town as well, and you'll also be helping yourself because you'll be in control of how much you are paying. But because of what I just said to you, that people understand that if you have a bill, if you just use electricity and you wait for the bill, you still have 3 months to 4 months of just using the electricity and not have anything happening, or no one will come and cut off your electricity supply. So that is what is still attractive about getting a bill from the city of Cape Town. But there was a council resolution now, because we actually own the boxes as the municipality. So there was a council resolution that everyone will be left with no choice but to choose to get a prepaid box at some point. Right now, it's still optional. We still try and get people to just take the service for free because it's going to help everyone involved. But at some point, when there's a cutoff date, then people will just be forced to get electric prepaid meter boxes in. because at the end of the day, these old networks and the old systems that they are using, it's not helping the city of Cape Town, because now we have tried to keep up to speed and make sure that all our networks are upgraded. But if you are using a box from 1972, it's not up to date with the systems that we are using right now. So it is also in our best interest to update our infrastructure and make sure that the boxes are in line with the systems and the technologies that we are using currently. So yes, at some point, everyone will have a prepaid meter box, and there's even talks about getting prepaid meters for electricity, for water as well, because then that will give the municipalities a little bit of freedom with the collection ratio that they need to meet every month. But that's a topic for another day. But if you were to get a prepaid meter box in, you would know exactly how much you're supposed to spend a month. Just the 200 rands difference, you would feel it, and then you'll be able to say, you know what, I'm not going to be cooking stew this evening. I'm just going to have noodles because I don't have the 200 rands difference. But if you're just using electricity and waiting for the bill, you have absolutely no control. You're going to cook whatever you want to cook, and you will not be able to put a cap on how much you are willing to spend that month. So I really do not understand how it's still comfortable for other clients to choose to wait for a bill from the city of Cape Town, because nobody wants to look at a bill and then dispute the bill, because you have
And
absolutely no control of how much you are using per
yes,
household.
it's like a prepaid phone and a when you have a contract phone. You make calls and you don't know what so it's gonna be like that. But this is my last question. I wanna end off with this. We have spoken a lot. A lot of people are still very upset, but we can't answer all the questions. We did some of the questions, but this is what I want to talk about. Stellenbosch. Stellenbosch, are they off the grid officially? There is rumors that they are. If they are, is there will the same happen to the rest of the Western Cape as well?
That's a very interesting question. I think it was around May, June that there was a headline that the Stellenbosch municipality is off the grid. I think municipalities were really excited to be able to say, well, we've got plans in place. Should we be able to buy electricity directly from IPPs? We have everything ready to do that and supply and be off ESCOM. But in reality, not a single municipality in South Africa is off the grid. Not one, not even Stellenbosch. But if you look at the top 10 municipalities that are prepared to deal with IPPs and actually get electricity in immediately and sell to their clients, the top out of the 10 municipalities, 8 of those municipalities are in the Western Cape, and Stellenbosch happens to be one of those municipalities. It's just a matter of readiness. Are they prepared and ready? Should IPPs be ready to sell to the municipalities immediately? Are they ready to procure and distribute? Yes. Are they off the grid? Not now. I hope I answered
Okay,
your question.
you do because a lot of people has asked the question and said, but look here, Stellenbosch is off, but from what I've heard now from you, they're not really off. So there is possibility. I think um the whole electricity thing is frustrating, and especially at a time like this, people are so well, I'm going to use the word pissed off at government and things that has happened, and we can't blame people. People have the right to speak, because they are humans, and they can ask questions. But I think we need to look into the IPP. I would like to have you on here again, Zim and Donovan. Were those people that makes decisions? We need to have those people on board, and we need to ask them the questions, because it's unfair that we're asking you guys the questions, but the key decision makers, we're not asking them the questions, because we need immediately intervention here. I promise you, it might just be like a show tonight to me and you, but there's people that don't know where they're going to get electricity from tomorrow and for the next week, and that's a big problem. That's a problem, and in the crime areas like the Cape West, there are there's a lot of crime, a high crime rate. Electricity has a lot to do, because people. I was in an area in Tafelsurf. Okay, we are to blame ourselves. people stole some of the electricity wiring and stuff, and there's no lights in the road. But I think we need to. This is things we need to fix, and we need to take accountable. We need to be accountable for this, because at the end of the day, um, we are also we should also have responsibility to look after what is ours, and that is one of the things. So thank you very much, Zim. It's much appreciated. But I would like to check you guys again very soon, maybe with a few key role players, and then maybe get I will get some of the users or some of the followers on, and they can ask questions themselves, and then we can have a debate between those people. Donovan, is there anything from your side you still wanna say?
Uh, I mean, nothing much, other than I think, because this is Cape Flight Story Facebook page, is to the guys in our communities in Grassy Park, Lotus River, Menenberg, Lavender Hill, Mitchells Plain. Start opening up your electricity company so that you can reduce, because that's the only way that we are actually going to be able to alleviate from what ESCOM is doing. Other than that, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen for us, and we're gonna be on the backside of it again. We're gonna pay the high cost. We need freedom from this government. We need freedom from this grid, and it's going to come from IPPs. So if you're in those communities, start opening up your companies already. Get the licenses, get the registration, so that you can start producing or generating electricity for ESCOM.
Yeah. And I think that is a good place also to start. And we also need to look at where we can save electricity. Maybe buy like the globes that save a lot of electricity, putting off the geyser. This time of the year also heaters. We like some people have the heaters on the whole day. We need to look at things like that. Unfortunately, some of us don't earn a lot of money, so we need while we're still figuring out a solution, we need to be very conscious of saving electricity. Zom, is there anything from your side that you want to maybe add?
First, I want to thank you for inviting me to come and have this chat. And I do support the idea of having key role players to come in and ask some questions. But I wanted to just leave you with one thing. The City of Cape Town has a very interesting department called Sustainable Markets. They actually have tips on how people can save on electricity. They also have locally manufactured products that will help households to save electricity. Remember those beanie bags that you can cook in, and all sorts of interesting alternatives to using an electric stove. So next time we have a chat, maybe it would be nice to add that component to it, so that the people who are watching actually have something to take away from the show and have practical things that they can do to help with the electricity bill. But I also wanted to end off and say that I work in Langa. So I understand that sometimes people are not complaining about lack of service. They just want to be able to have electricity. Sometimes people call and ask for 10 rands worth of electricity and 20 rands worth of electricity. It's very, very painful to be able to look at somebody who should be able to afford electricity based on just physical appearance. And then you realize that even 50 rands, it's even if you buy electricity for 50 rands, that's not going to be helping that person for even 3 days. So we understand that electricity prices are very, very expensive. They are unaffordable. And unfortunately, the people that suffer the most here is the people who were using less electricity to begin with at the end of the month. And those are the people that the City of Cape Town tries to prioritize first and say, okay, we need to make sure that there's a safety net for these people. But to be able to do that, you need to penalize those people who are actually buying electricity and using more electricity than an average household in Langa or in the Cape Flats. So you never actually win as a municipality, because you have to take money from here to make sure that you have a safety net for the people that actually use less electricity and contribute less to buying electricity. But at the end of the day, the only way out of this, we can talk about solars, we can talk about waste minimization and taking rubbish and turning it into electricity. But I have spoken to very senior officials at the City of Cape Town, and I had asked them, if you had all the money in the world and you just wanted to make sure that we get rid of load shedding, what would you do? And they said that actually I would still look at traditional means of producing electricity. the fancy green stuff is there and we need to explore it. But right now, for the next 3 years, we need a stable grid. And the only way to do that in a meaningful way is to have more solar plants, is to have
Mm.
more coal plants, and to have more stations per area. And that means we're going to be burning coal for the next 5 years or so until we can find a more sustainable, greener energy solution. But right now, it's a matter of making sure that we stabilize the grid and we need to build more power stations. Unfortunately, ESCOM has the opportunity to do that, and right now they're not prioritizing that. So we are in trouble for the next while. Thank you.
Before you go, sorry, man. I just remembered now. We should actually, since Zimkite is on here, we should actually hold it to something, because I believe the city has a green sort of container house that they are showcasing around Cape Town. We should
Mhm.
have a bring it to Lotus River.
Yes,
Zimkite,
yes, yes.
is that a yes? Is that a yes from you?
I
I
don't
I
know.
actually saw it.
We should showcase that, because I think that is brilliant, and I know that we spoke about it on the page a while ago as well, and I know you
Mhm,
shared a
mhm,
photo, but we should have a
mhm.
bring it to Lotus River, Grassy Park, those places
Yeah,
where we can
yeah.
actually start, just having the mind the thing here, but to see how we can actually reduce energy, and you know what, I think a lot of people say, oh, because they're poor, they don't have brains. No, actually, there's a lot of poor people that's willing to save water and electricity.
Mhm.
If you just show them how to do it. I
That's
believe
right.
that, because I've seen it, and
Mhm.
I work in Grassy Park and Parkwood. So I think that is what we need to start, doing, is to showcase these ideas and give people ideas to see how they can actually save electricity at the end of the day.
You're
That was
so right.
very opportunistic of you there. But what I can commit to right now is having the director of sustainable markets to come through and just have a chat to us and also give like an overview of what her department is responsible for. And you never know what's going to come out of that conversation. So for the next one, I can commit to bringing her in and then having a discussion, and then we see what happens from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, like Donovan said, I've seen this container in, it was in, was it now?
Green
Yeah, one of
point.
the malls. Yeah, I actually saw it and I was very impressed. I think there is something that we can definitely bring to the Cape Flats. I've showed them a couple of months ago on here with a live video how it looks inside, what it does, and the cost and so on. And I also think our people can build it themselves. I want to brag. Our people on the Cape Flats are so talented. I know my people, if you just show them and you just give them access, they can do it themselves. That's just how confident I am about my people on the Cape Flats. But thank you so much. And I will set a meeting with you guys maybe next week. And when we can take this matter further, I'll get some other people as well, and let's talk about the electricity, because people are going to still suffer for the next couple of months and maybe years. But we need to talk about this and start an awareness, even if it means we have to go and walk to that place, ESCOM or wherever, as a community. We're going to do that because someone needs to be kept accountable. Thank you so much, Zami and Donovan. It's much appreciated.
Thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'll be happy to come in anytime you want to have a conversation again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we spoke to Donovan and to Zami. I want some of you guys also on here. Let me know. We're gonna have a discussion again very soon. I've seen your comments. Some of the comments I didn't want to read. You can see all onbeskofte mense. So I will allow you guys to join me. So let me know. But I think we need to save on electricity. We need to speak about this. It is very important for us to shine a light on electricity that is expensive and that is going so quick. I think many of you guys have seen the last month how the electricity bills and units has just spiked like nothing, and we need to have a look at that and how we can fix that a bit as well. So thank you very much for supporting us tonight and listening to us. And try and save where you can save. It's very important. Salute as in hou die Kaap op die map, bro. Kaapstad ek salute vir. Bro, ons kan die goeie self bou. Ek weet daar's ankels wat slim is. Ons luister maar net. but ons moet ons mense kan self doen. But guys, don't lose hope, don't lose faith. Be positive. Things will come right if we stand together, if we support one another, if we come up with ideas and we, share ideas with one another, we can definitely, save things and make things right. There's nothing wrong with cooking on your braai pak too. That's also Fatima. That's good. Maybe we should braai more. Especially, let's look maybe at weekends. We braai more. And during the week, sy moet maar nou die geyser afsit. Be very careful, guys. Be very careful of your heaters. A lot of you guys like to keep the heaters on. I make sure that before I go sleep, the heaters is off, the lights is off. Sit jou ligte af. Julle wat so bang is om te slaap, moet julle ligte aan. Sit dit af in die aande in. We need to save money. We need to save electricity. I know my one colleague here was very upset. Marley, where's Marley? Sê wel weet hoekom gaan jy electricity so gou? I'm gonna find out for her. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. Look at ways if you can afford things that you can, like a generator, buy generator. Okay, petrol is weer duur, but buy things that do research. Make sure you guys, see where you can save. Put off the lights. Sleep earlier in the evenings. Unfortunately, we need to save money. um, there's a lot of things that I'm not happy with, but there's nothing we can do about it. We need to talk about it and we need to give ideas. But I will see how the week goes. Maybe I can get people on here to give us advice on what to do more and how to save electricity. People, be lekker, go sleep now. Sit die ligte af, sit die TV af, hou jou spouse lekker warm of hou jou kompies warm of slaap met 'n kussing. But stay safe, guys. God bless you guys, and keep well.